That's the subject of the video.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think you're out of your mind.
I know it's controversial.
Yeah, it's really controversial. Gender. You might as well do a video about... Nope, can't think of anything more controversial than gender.
Well, okay, but I am genderqueer.
That does not make you an authority on anything. Doesn't make you bulletproof either.
Yeah, but surely people will be nice to me.
What people? People on social media? Are people on social media going to be nice to you?
Okay, stop. Okay, stop.
Nice to you because you're kind of femme? I think you should do whatever kind of video you want to do and cover whatever topic you want. You just need to be really careful.
Okay, yeah, that's what everyone keeps telling me.
Good that that's what they're telling you.
But be careful of what?
Ah, Neil. Dear, sweet, stupid Neil. Have you ever been cancelled?
Well, yeah, sure. Last year was 2020, all my gigs got cancelled.
That's not what
I once turned up for a gig and the whole pub had been turned into a Mexican restaurant.
No.
I got a burrito.
No, Neil. Cancelled. Like, deplatformed for expressing problematic views.
My views aren't problematic.
You don't know that until someone finds the problem with them.
Besides, I don't exactly have a platform.
Well, that is true.
So I don't have much to lose.
Okay, but how are you going to deal with the complexity here? If you get into how gender is a construct, or all the radical feminist post-de Beauvoir gender is a caste system stuff, or the spectrum of sex traits, the physiology of our brains. Every single bit of research and rhetoric surrounding gender is controversial. This is a giant can full of cans of worms, and all of the worms are full of cans.
What?
I don't know. Video would have to be 4 hours long just to cover all of the caveats and disclaimers.
Oh, I kind of wanted it to be shorter than my other ones.
Oh, Neil.
What?
Theories on gender get updated all the time. This is going to age really badly no matter what you say.
I don't think we need necessarily...
You can accidentally give fuel to turds.
Well, at least I'll have said something. I can't be a silent, uncontroversial little whitewashed queer person, can I? I'm not playing into the narrative that people hang around waiting to cancel every opinion. The trans and queer communities are made up of loving, accepting, coalitional people, and it's my bloody identity that's controversial, not my words. So I have the right to talk about it. The alternative is silence or angry replies in comment sections, and that is no kind of coherent or entertaining reply to gender skeptics or bad comedians making that same attack helicopter joke over and over again. Oh man, I hate that joke. Let me make new, trans-inclusive jokes. Let me make mistakes. I have to make this video.
No, you're right. You're right. Hey, look, just call me if you get into any trouble, okay?
Alright, I will. I'll call you.
Alright, now let's cut to some moody Spielbergian shot or something.
Where does the story of gender begin? It could begin anywhere. Right now it's 2021, and we've been through quite the year. I don't have any resolutions as such, but I would like to express my authentic gender more in this coming year. But what is my authentic gender expression? What do I mean by that? Let's start with a boy. Oh, it's me. What a little dumpling. I was assigned my boyhood at birth by hospitals, medical staff, legal and social institutions. The whole lot of them told me I was a boy. I hope I'm not saying anything too controversial already. So therefore my authentic gender, my biological destiny, is to be a man, right? Because authenticity is just social congruence. Being true to your historical, ethnic, national, presumed heritage and gender identity. Right? Right?
God, I certainly hope not. Hi, I'm Neil, and I'm a liberal cook. and today we're going to be making a somewhat authentic Italian recipe. Just like my Italian American mama used to make. Authenticity! I'm sorry, I'm still angry about them defending the Columbus statue. So we're going to roast some tomato and some garlic, and we're going to talk about gender. And while we're talking about gender, we're going to slice a shallot. Nothing controversial about that. A shallot. A shallot. It's not controversial. Shallot. Now, for most people sitting comfortably in cis identity, that is performing the gender that's traditionally associated with their birth anatomy, gender is uncomplicated. You are a boy or you are a girl, and everything about your gender is perfect. It's perfect. It's an exact, ideal, comfortable fit for you. It's fine. This is fine. This is fine. Except it's not fine. There's the glaring fact of discomfort with your gender for like so many people. Okay, set aside trans issues for a moment. I'm just slicing a shallot. This shallot's really getting me. Are we really happy in our genders in normal world? Call it toxic masculinity if you want. Probably some of you don't want to. But the higher rates of alcohol use disorder in men, call it a culture-bound phenomenon, but the higher rates of eating disorders and body dysmorphia for women. Is it controversial yet? I'm just slicing some mushrooms. Generations of feminists, patient, tired feminists, have been articulating pretty robust arguments against the universality or helpfulness of gender norms for like years. From positions of sociology and anthropology, they've been able to argue that gender roles aren't particularly universal. From the position of literary and film criticism, they've pointed to art and its sexism historically, its homophobia. As historians, they've pointed out the women and the queer people that have been erased from history. From various positions and at great length, they've shown over and over that the universal truths and received wisdoms that we take so for granted are discovered, written, interpreted by men. Now, is that proof in and of itself that those universal assumptions are wrong? No. But it does go a long way to showing bias, a weighted way of thinking in terms of what we believe and what we think of as universal truths. But what are some universal truths about gender? Women are more agreeable, they build social bonds, they tend to take on caregiving roles. Men are less agreeable, men are more aggressive in terms of physical things like fighting and sex. And in the workplace, men love lions, women love sheep, men love hammers, women love flower arranging, men love stomping on the thing, and women love gently dusting the thing, and men love men climb, but women descend. They're different to each other, they're not the same, they can't be the same, they can never be the same, and women are, and men are like, I'm a man! Who are these men and women? Are they black men? White women? Are they Dutch? Do they work in tech? Let's calm things down a little. It is true that there are gender stereotypes we continue to interact with all the time. We interact with it so much that even when it comes to processes that have nothing to do with gender, we still can't help but gender them. Like fertilization. Now I know, when it comes to humping, we think of that as being fundamentally gendered. It's not. But once we get to the point of sperm and egg being next to each other, we should be able to refer to the process free of all gendered language, right? The sperm swim up to the egg, penetrate, and it's fertilized. Done, right? Except that's not actually what happens, is it? In her famous essay, The Egg and the Sperm, anthropologist Emily Martin, who besides being a living icon in the world of anthropology, also insists on posing with her cat in publications, Hero, describes our idea of conception as a scientific fairy tale which reinforces gender stereotypes through linguistic trickery. She takes language from journal articles and textbooks to show the gendered narrative we impose on cells.
It is remarkable how femininely the egg behaves and how masculinely the sperm. The egg is seen as large and passive. It does not move or journey, but passively is transported, is swept, or even drifts along the fallopian tube.
And then there's sperm, little proud boys.
They deliver their genes to the egg, activate the developmental program of the egg, and have a velocity that is often remarked upon. Their tails are strong and efficiently powered. Together with the forces of ejaculation, they can propel the semen into the deepest recesses of the vagina. For this, they need energy, fuel, so that with a whiplash-like motion and strong lurches, they can burrow through the egg coat and penetrate it. And that's not even accurate.
The sperm doesn't so much penetrate the egg. It's more a case of the egg sucking the sperm in. Our obsession with gendering the world can actually blind us to more accurate conclusions.
Even the supposedly neutral and scientifically minded community can't get around gendering things. In spite of the white coats and meticulous hand washing, scientists also can't help but be covered in a fine mucky film of gender stereotypes. So we move up from these tiny cells, shorts on sperms and eggs with perms, up to this level of men are big with willies and women are small with noo-noos. And that is world. We've been through this. There's no new information here. It's boring, and I haven't said anything that any self-respecting TERF wouldn't agree with. Add some balsamic vinaigrette to taste. Stay with me. I'm not being outrageous or inflammatory here. This is basic stuff. Google the word woman. The second definition is an insult. Google the word man, and the second definition is a compliment. Look, the channel is called The Liberal Cook. The clue's in the name. I can't begin to talk about gender without the two most glaring facts. Feminism is right. Everyone is sexist. Right, so now that all that's out of the way, red wine! It's just like my mama used to drink. A horrible Australian wine. Authentic! Nothing more authentically Italian than vegan parmesan, am I right? Buon Natale! Oh, use a peeler for much thinness. One of my favorite philosophers, Simone de Beauvoir, said that man is defined as a human being and woman as a female. Whenever she behaves as a human being, she is said to imitate the male. One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. So for me, de Beauvoir is making a point here about the possible. She's making a point about the limitation of being. When you live in a world that typecasts and presets the sorts of behaviors that it's appropriate for you to engage in, it's not like people dressing or speaking or behaving in a way typically associated with the other gender is innately or naturally dangerous or wrong, like murder or drink driving, women speaking with vocal fry, or men wriggling like cuties. They're only controversial, they only rub up against people because they fly in the face of a completely constructed idea of how that gender is supposed to behave. Without going into too much detail about cultural constructs, it does bring me to the point where that culture of patriarchy, which is to say the culture of being a man is the normal thing and the penis is the most important and most dangerous. This isn't controversial and just shallots. That culture, which we can call patriarchy for argument's sake, is really shitty to men. Because all of that work from those tired feminists hasn't been particularly received by man culture. Because you can't do anything when you're a man. It's all wrong. It's all gay. It's all not man enough. So my innate, authentic expression of whatever the hell is going on here is wrong. It flies in the face of normality. And normality is cultural. Normality is men. Another fantastic thinker, Judith Butler, thought about a very interesting question. Was there ever a point where patriarchy, this presumed normalness of male culture and its ubiquity and rightness, was there ever a point where that didn't exist? Or will there ever be a point in the future where patriarchy doesn't exist? She puts forward the idea that gender itself is performed, that it only exists as a social construct. Like money or land ownership, gender only exists because we all sort of agree it exists. So what comes after patriarchy? No gender? Maxed out full individualism? Pockets for everyone? Since writing her seminal work, Gender Trouble, Butler's ideas have only become more nuanced and interesting from speaking to trans people and reading their academic work. But even that very specific idea of gender being a construct doesn't mean that anyone performing any one particular gender or identifying with any one particular gender is living under some kind of illusion. We're humans. We're going to speak some kind of language. We're going to move in some kind of manner. We're still going to express ourselves in some kind of way. And that way of expressing ourselves is going to be tied to some cultural or emotional idea that is gendered, or even in a post-patriarchal utopia, it's going to be tied to an idea that was historically gendered. It's 2021. It's high fucking time.
I like to pretend I live in that post-patriarchal utopia. At my best, in how I live my life when I'm happiest, I try to express myself as if the gendered world was a thing of the past. And I just wear what's cute. I perform what makes me feel good. And some of it is historically feminine, and some of it is historically masculine. Sometimes I catch myself in the mirror, and I look good. So this year I want to do that more often, just for myself. Pretend that there's no patriarchy hanging over me. I just want to feel more like me, more often. Not in a surface level way. This sense of self that's reflected in a feminine kneel is deep. It goes all the way down. The way I've interacted with people since coming out, the way I've shared vulnerability and spoken more gently and told people I love them more freely. I'm not putting femininity higher on a hierarchy. There shouldn't be a hierarchy. But being true in that way, true to myself and congruent, being all of it as best I could, meant stepping into a braver, better, happier, freer person.
Because, I mean, I like... what the fuck am I doing? What's this? You're enjoying this a little bit too much today. I quite enjoy sort of straddling the sphere between the masculine energy and the feminine energy, given that they're both these sort of fictions, you know. I recognize that objectively, arbitrarily, they're fictions, but at the same time, like, if I get caught masturbating in the bed by my partner, I'm not going to bring my masculine energy, because that would just be like, no, it fucking wasn't wanking, it's just because you're fucking stupid, that's why. I'm going to bring my feminine energy, because it's useful in that scenario, you know. Are you masturbating? Yeah. I was just thinking about stuff. And then I just get laid, you know. Why the fuck? I mean, I'm trying to think of what useful thing can you bring your masculine sexual energy to? If anyone can help me. I had to make a table at one point, and it didn't turn out very good, but I really used my masculine sexual energy to make the table.
And authenticity might be a misleading term here. Hey, Mom, Columbus. Authenticity. Well, because there's more to gender than wearing dresses or wriggling or women joining the army or whatever. There's more complexity to the complexity of the gender binary and traversing the gender binary than just the gender binary, because, and I may be the first person to say this publicly, trans people exist. And if you exist in a body that's been culturally reified as something you are not, and remember, culture goes all the way down. You are thinking culturally right now. I joked earlier on that it's all fine, because of course it's not. Even for those cisgender people watching this, There are things about your gender that you don't want, right? Inconveniences, assumptions about you based on your clothes or your junk. Worse than inconveniences or assumptions, right? So hold the things you resent about your own gender in your mind and imagine worse. And worse than that again. Imagine all of it is foundationally frustrating and suffocating and gross and wrong. And I'm frankly not going to descend any further into the depths of gender dysphoria. It's not my place, and it's deeply upsetting. But this is not a feeling or an inconvenience or an illusion. Identity is more than a feeling when it's congruent with society. It's more unconscious, it's more nuanced, it's deeper than that. And when identity is incongruent, it's more than a feeling. More than a feeling, I close my eyes and I drift away. And the audience might be a little split down the middle here, because on the one side you'll have people who are like, this is no new information, trans people exist and the world is sexist. And on the other side you might have people who mostly recognize those things but begin to examine, hey, is this person speaking to me right now, this Neil Farrell liberal cook character, a liberal elitist? Well, let me just tell you, I'm a 2-time college dropout from a working class family, and I am exhausted right now because I just spent the day working in a shop. Because this is an imaginary world that we're creating here. I have to work in a real job. I have 2 small children to raise. See, I'm not interested in this stuff because I'm trying to virtue signal. I'm interested in it because I'm gender non-conforming, because I'm curious, and because I care about making the world a better place. There is something innate and authentic in my soul that is very uncomfortable being male in this male world. And it's very easy to excuse every single emancipatory movement as too loud, or spreading an ideology, or removed from reality. It's normal world pushing back and saying, can't we just continue to not care? Can't we just continue to be kind of sexist and racist? Can't we just continue to pretend trans people don't exist and just let gay people do whatever it is they do behind closed doors? Or are we curious or interested in something better? Maybe that's the truth about gender and authenticity, is it's way more interesting than we were told it was when we were children. When I was a boy and told, here's what you be, just be a man, and it made me deeply uncomfortable and deeply unhappy, I listened to that voice. I got curious. Maybe there's a voice in your head too. And if I'm persuading you to an ideology, fine. But it's based on the truth. It's not based on anything else. I have nothing else to give you. I have nothing else to tempt you with. Just the truth.
But biology is destiny, okay? Okay?
Biology is destiny. What even is the biology on this? There is so much cutting edge, culturally baggy research on trans issues that I'm scared. I mean, hey, call me a cultural Marxist, Jordan fucking Peterson.
Yeah, right, man.
But I don't even really see biological sex as a particularly coherent binary. We've only ever looked at it through the binary lens, but our bodies are so complex. There is something to this idea that gender itself is a construct over vaguely observable biological phenomena. Just like race is a construction over surface level traits that I guess we have. They're just distributed over a massive complex spectrum, and you have to squint and really want race to exist more than just in a cultural way. Because otherwise it just sort of disappears in a puff of colonial anguish. Yeah. So I exist, and things... Hang on a second.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. I might have got myself in trouble.
Oh no. Did you give fuel to the turfs?
No, but I started talking about race, and I probably should have just kept things simpler.
You silly sausage.
I know.
Okay, don't panic. Have you tried contacting your trans friends?
Oh, right. The trans comedians.
Yeah, all the trans comedians. Just rope them in, and you can all get cancelled together.
What was that?
Nothing. Cut to Felix on a TV in space.
A video covering sex and gender. Wow, you've really narrowed it down there, Neil. Thanks for that.
Hi Neil. So, you want me to talk about gender? I'm not sure I'm the person to ask, actually, because I only figured out a few months ago I've been walking around in the wrong gender my whole life. In front of everybody, like a big aegis. Someone should have said something.
Gender is everything, but it's nothing. It's a construct, but it's very fucking real.
I'm not trans.
God, give me strength.
A tripwire that people fall over around this stage of the conversation is starting to talk about intersex people and intersex conditions, which is wrong. The wrong idea. A bad thing to do. Now, some intersex people are trans, but intersex people existing doesn't necessarily add any legitimacy to trans people being real and valid. And am I gonna get cancelled for this? Are we all getting cancelled for this? Is this what we're doing? Okay, I'm just gonna keep going.
I started hormones a month ago. Female hormones. At least I hope they're female. I'd be so annoyed if they were male hormones. Talk about throwing good money after bad. It has already kind of, it's really helped with my gender dysphoria. I'm still miserable. I'm still me, you know, but I don't know how to explain how I experience gender dysphoria. It's kind of like I have to make a jigsaw of the person I'm supposed to be, but the pieces don't match the picture on the front of the box, so I've no idea what I'm doing. But now, finally, I feel like one of the pieces is clicked into place. I don't know, it's a start. I'm not very good at metaphors.
This is my house. You're gonna come into my house. These are my plants. You're gonna do this in front of my plants. You're gonna make me do this in front of my plants. Look, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Smart people don't know. What is gender? What is gender? Is it entirely cultural? Is it our brains? Is it biology? Is it chemistry? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No! No. I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna solve this. Smart people have tried to solve this. It's not gonna be me. I've got 3/4 of a BA in English.
Like, I hate to bring this up, but why am I here exactly?
Intersex conditions, it's to do with your hormones and your chromosomes and your junk. Sometimes. Not all of them, necessarily. There are lots of different intersex conditions. Bodies are complicated.
It ain't a thing in your pants, it's a thing in your head.
I'm really sorry you had to see that. Please just use the fucking pronouns.
Here's the thing. My being trans is not anything to do with my body. I have chest hair. You said I was on a TV in space, right? Do I have, Oh, great, cool. Thanks, space TV powers.
Could I be sent back home, please? Because the oxygen level's running really low, right?
So I have chest hair, and I don't have tits. A big fan of having chest hair. Big fan of not having tits, personally. But those things are my body. This and the chest hair and the voice, testosterone. That's my body. My body did that. Not the top surgery. But that's not my gender, that's just my body. Feeling good in my body, feeling authentic in my body, feeling euphoric, gender euphoric. It's related to looking like a man in a societal sense, but intrinsically no.
I don't know where I'm going. That's not a metaphor. I'm genuinely lost. Well, let's pretend it is. It's a metaphor. This is, yeah, Lost in the Woods. This is gender. You're welcome. The fuck do I get out of here?
Also, stop doing gender reveals. No one wants to know about your unborn child's genitalia. You fucking creep.
So my gender, I mean, what is my gender? It's not made of meat. It's made of ideas. Ideas about who I am, ideas about how I relate to the wider world, and not simply the cold vacuum of space. Again, thanks, Neil. Thanks.
So what is gender? Oh.
Too high, too far.
Oh, hoi hoi.
Hi. Oh, nice lipstick, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Wait.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to do the subscribe and the Patreon plug and all of that stuff, and there was something you said.
Oh, yes. There is a thing you keep neglecting to do, and that's telling people to ring the bell. They've got to ring the tingly dingly bell. It's very important because then they'll get notified when you release a new video. And they should like the video every time because that makes the YouTube algorithms hungrier for more liberal cookness. And then there's the Patreon, and they should give you money. And then there's the tip jar on PayPal. And then there's checking out all of your other social media on Facebook and on Instagram. Don't send them to Twitter. Twitter's toxic. All right. Okay. Take care. Bye.